We're going to start with some big news from the Dutton Ranch. Yellowstone star Kevin Costner says he's riding off into the sunset.
Yellowstone fans have followed every power play, betrayal, and battle for survival at Dutton Ranch. But turns out the real drama was happening off-screen. News just broke that Yellowstone may be ending for good, and the reason has fans reeling. Is the rumored feud between Kevin Costner and showrunner Taylor Sheridan what's tearing down the show? Or is a new lead set to replace Costner entirely? As we dive into this whirlwind of rumors, half-truths, and shocking twists, join us to uncover what's really going down at Dutton Ranch. The truth might just surprise you. What happened on the Yellowstone set? Let's catch up on the Yellowstone drama, both on-screen and off. The first half of Season 5 stirred up quite a controversy among fans. Some felt the show had crossed into the realm of absurdity, while others believed it was a natural progression in the story's slow-burn buildup. Even those skeptical about Season 5 still held out hope that the second half would bring everything together, and they had two solid reasons for their optimism. First, there's Taylor Sheridan, the award-winning showrunner who transformed Yellowstone from an ambitious concept into one of the biggest hits of the modern era. Known for his tight plotting and deep understanding of human emotion, some fans have even compared Sheridan to a modern-day Charles Dickens. Second, there's Kevin Costner, the show's indisputable star. Along with a stellar cast and crew, these two have combined old-school swagger with sharp, contemporary storytelling. Yet, recent reports of a heated conflict between Sheridan and Costner now threaten to unravel everything they've built. This news has shocked Yellowstone fans, especially since everyone involved in the show seemed committed to keeping it going strong. At the Golden Globe Awards, Costner won Best Actor in a Drama Series for his role as John Dutton. And on the red carpet, Cole Hauser, who plays Rip Wheeler, confidently stated that Yellowstone would continue for at least 2 more seasons. So what happened to turn a show with such solid momentum into a question mark? The answer lies with Kevin Costner. As with most high-stakes productions, it's tough to separate fact from fiction in this situation. Yellowstone's producers have issued official statements denying that the show is in danger. Still, insiders suggest there's more to the story. Costner, an Academy Award-winning actor and director, has hinted that he feels creatively restricted by the demands of a long-term TV series. He has other ambitions, including a major new film project, Horizon, which is taking up much of his time and focus. Meanwhile, Sheridan, known for his hands-on approach, might feel the show requires full commitment from its lead star. Balancing a long-term television role with other interests often leaves A-list actors feeling conflicted. Starring in a TV series has its perks: steady paychecks, a lighter filming schedule, and more influence over the project. However, many actors dedicated to the magic of the big screen find TV to be a step down. Additionally, locking into a series for years can feel creatively stifling, especially for actors like Costner who thrive on exploring new creative avenues. And Kevin Costner definitely took both of these factors into account and sought to strike a balance from the start. He limited himself to 65 days of shooting per season. But unfortunately, Kevin allegedly began to tire of the show and wanted to cut his days down even more, down to 50 for the first half of Season 5. But if that wasn't enough, a new project in which he would be starring, directing, and co-writing forced him to cut his shooting time for Season 5 down to just a week. And honestly, it was unclear if that would even be physically possible, or if Kevin was just looking for a way out. The producers of Yellowstone allegedly rejected the offer whether it was made in good faith or not. But if these allegations are coloring your view of Kevin, just hold your horses for just a moment. Because whether or not Yellowstone continues, there's a whole lot more to this story.
They don't all do it, just the ones that got a second chance. I guess it's the way they prove they're to be trusted.
The real issue. After allegations surfaced that Kevin Costner was allegedly neglecting Yellowstone for other projects, the media quickly sought his response. Many might have expected Costner to defend his choice, perhaps arguing that as an A-list star, he had earned the right to prioritize more ambitious projects, even if Yellowstone was one of the biggest TV successes in recent years. Surprisingly, he took a different approach, expressing genuine frustration over how things unfolded and shedding light on the complexities of his commitments. Over a year ago, Yellowstone left fans with a massive cliffhanger. To recap, Season 5 wrapped up abruptly, just 2 episodes short of its planned finale, leaving viewers and even some cast members in suspense. This abrupt ending led to a swirl of speculation about a feud between Costner and Taylor Sheridan, the show's creator. In the months that followed, Paramount alleged that Costner wasn't fully committed to filming and left the production to promote his ambitious new film franchise, Horizon. But Costner shared his own perspective, explaining that Paramount had revised his contract after production delays in Yellowstone scripts, creating unexpected conflicts with his other commitments. In a candid interview, Costner expressed feeling blindsided by how the situation was portrayed. He claimed that, contrary to rumors, he had consistently made Yellowstone his top priority. Understanding the demands placed on Sheridan to deliver a show of this scale, Costner admitted he felt that the network could have backed him more, especially given the high-stakes nature of the production. His disappointment stemmed from the way the situation was communicated, which he believed misrepresented his dedication to the show. Since the show's unexpected hiatus, Costner has taken most of the public blame. Reports over the past year suggested that Costner held strict conditions around his character's story arc, allegedly wanting control over his character's fate. Rumors even circulated that he only offered limited filming time and considered legal action over contractual disputes. However, Costner shared a different version, explaining that his initial contract had included commitments for 3 full seasons, 5, 6, and 7. As negotiations progressed, Paramount tried to alter the terms, splitting Season 5 into 2 parts and leaving the status of future seasons uncertain. Caught in the crossfire, Costner described how Paramount's shifting timelines added tension to his schedule with Horizon, his film project he intended to produce between Yellowstone filming gaps. His experience has been a frustrating balancing act between fulfilling Yellowstone commitments and realizing his cinematic ambitions. Costner's frustration with the Yellowstone production team centers on the lack of communication and support he felt from Paramount as production difficulties for the show's 5th season escalated. Initially, he only intended to stay on Yellowstone for a single season, but as the series took off, he committed to 3 seasons and even extended his contract to a 4th. Paramount then asked him to continue for 3 more, which he agreed to, signing a contract that covered seasons 5 through 7. However, Costner recounts that Paramount unexpectedly halted production for over a year, leaving him without work for 14 months. Frustrated by the extended break, he realized he couldn't risk another lengthy pause, so he took measures to ensure he could work on his film Horizon during any potential gaps in Yellowstone's production schedule. Yet even with these plans, he explains that he was always willing to prioritize Yellowstone when required, though he didn't want a repeat of the previous long hiatus. When it came time to shoot the remaining episodes of Season 5, Sheridan hadn't finished the scripts. Costner returned to the set as requested, even cutting his work on Horizon short to be on time for Yellowstone. Despite his willingness to work around these challenges, the lack of completed scripts hindered progress. Costner says he left his film project early to complete the first 8 episodes of Season 5, hoping to deliver a full 10-episode arc, but without the final 2 scripts, they could only deliver 8. As tensions rose, Paramount announced they would complete the Yellowstone series with or without Costner and hinted at a new sequel featuring Matthew McConaughey.
Monica, I'd like to introduce you to Mel Thompson. He's the president of Montana State.
Yet, recent updates suggest McConaughey isn't fully committed, and Costner's claims about the unfinished scripts appear accurate. The media spun Costner's offer to return for a week if Paramount wanted to conclude his character's story into a narrative suggesting he only wanted to work for a week. For Costner, the entire experience was a disappointing reminder of how Hollywood can warp intentions, especially when projects implode from production and communication breakdowns. Costner's recent comments suggest that Sheridan's heavy workload at Paramount may be part of the reason the scripts for Yellowstone's 5th season stalled. While Sheridan has been balancing Yellowstone's production, he's also overseeing multiple other Paramount projects, including Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King, Special Ops, Lioness, and Lawman, Bass Reeves. along with Yellowstone spin-offs 1883 and 1923. He has even more in the pipeline, like Landman with Billy Bob Thornton and additional Yellowstone prequels. Costner pointed out the volume of content Sheridan is juggling, implying it could have led to a shortage of scripts for Yellowstone. There's a lot of product they were putting out, he noted, adding that they rarely discuss these pressures openly. Now, as fans wait for clarity, the question lingers: could Costner ever return if he and Sheridan hashed things out directly?
You know, there was barbed wire on this fence a week ago.
Is there room for mending the relationship? Costner recalls a conversation where Sheridan promised him certain things about the show's future, a trust Costner feels was never fulfilled. He clarified that his commitment to Horizon didn't come from wanting to leave Yellowstone behind. Costner made it clear, if the right scripts are there, he would show up too. The tension, however, seems more personal than professional at this point. A recent social media post from Costner's assistant targeted Sheridan's Tulsa King, with comments suggesting Sheridan should stick to Westerns and calling him out in bold, almost confrontational language. While the assistant's remarks don't confirm Costner's own views, they hint at a strain close enough that an assistant would feel comfortable speaking so directly. Meanwhile, Sheridan and Paramount have been rumored to have a high-profile plan if Costner indeed leaves. Reports suggest Sheridan might try to carry on Yellowstone with a reconfigured cast, potentially centering the story around a new lead, Matthew McConaughey. This shift would bring an iconic Hollywood presence to the series, mirroring the blend of veteran star power and fresh storytelling that made Yellowstone's spin-offs successful. Past Yellowstone offshoots have thrived with major names like Helen Mirren, Harrison Ford, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, and Sam Elliott. Matthew McConaughey, stepping into cowboy boots and taking over the Dutton Ranch in Yellowstone, doesn't seem like a stretch. Recently, McConaughey made headlines hinting at a possible run for governor of Texas, the very state that inspired the Dutton Ranch itself. While he's no longer planning to lead the Lone Star State, he's certainly got the cowboy cred to bring a convincing new presence to the screen. And even if Yellowstone itself fades out, counting Taylor Sheridan out would be a mistake. If the McConaughey project doesn't pan out, Sheridan has more than enough high-profile projects in his pipeline to keep him thriving in Hollywood. Just look at his recent and upcoming work. Mayor of Kingstown with Jeremy Renner explores the prison system's impact on the surrounding town and is already in its second season. Then there's Tulsa King, featuring Sylvester Stallone, renewed for another season as well. Sheridan's also working on Lioness, a spy thriller starring Morgan Freeman and Nicole Kidman, and Landman with Billy Bob Thornton, set to begin filming in May. With this remarkable lineup of collaborations, Sheridan has become one of the few showrunners with such an impressive array of projects in production. At What Happened, we're big Taylor Sheridan fans, so it's tough to see any behind-the-scenes issues derail a show as beloved as Yellowstone. If these conflicts bring the series to an early end, it would disappoint countless fans. Sheridan, Costner, and everyone involved have the talent to create a satisfying conclusion to the Dutton family's epic tale, and many of us hope they can resolve their differences to deliver it.
You on the res?
It's a new chief showing off for his voters.
Kevin Costner's ego could end his career. On Kevin Costner's part, his confidence, some might call it ego, has led him through both his high and low moments. Known as the poster child for the confidence of mediocre white men, Costner has certainly made his share of memorable films. Movies like Tin Cup, For Love of the Game, Bull Durham, and Field of Dreams are beloved classics. However, when left to his own devices without anyone to challenge his ideas, Costner has also turned out infamous projects like Waterworld and The Postman, a 3-hour epic about a post-apocalyptic mail carrier. To his credit, while Costner has occasionally flamed out with some grand ideas, he's also delivered underrated films like A Perfect World, The Company Men, and The Upside of Anger. With Horizon and American Saga, Costner aimed high. Too high, it seems, overestimating the public's interest in another large-scale Western epic. Although he played a significant role in Yellowstone's success, he mistakenly assumed he was the reason for its popularity. He decided to make not one but 4 Western movies, a genre that hasn't been a box office hit in the US in ages and typically performs poorly overseas. Convincing international audiences to watch a 12-hour Western saga, especially with mixed perceptions of America, proved ambitious, to say the least. Costner invested tens of millions of his own money and persuaded a major investor to contribute $50 million more, bringing the first Horizon film's budget close to $100 million. However, the first installment fell short, grossing only around $22 million at the box office and pushing its release on VOD just 2 weeks after its theatrical debut. Costner's original plan was to generate buzz with the first part's success, boosting VOD sales before releasing Part 2 in August. But with Part 1's lukewarm reception, they've scrapped the August theater release for Horizon Chapter 2. A statement from Territory Pictures and New Line Cinema expressed their hope to allow audiences more time to discover the first installment, though it's essentially an admission of cutting their losses. Whether Parts 3 or 4 of Horizon will even see the light of day is now a big question mark. Investors, burned by the first attempt, may hesitate to back the remaining films. But if there's one thing to know about Costner, it's that he's no stranger to setbacks and comebacks. Though his latest venture didn't pan out as hoped, Costner has often shown his best work after facing a tough reality check. So, while his ambitions with Horizon may have overreached, it would be unwise to count him out entirely. But this isn't the first time Costner has ended up in a career rut.
You know, there was barbed wire on this fence a week ago.
Costner's first downfall. Kevin Costner's risky gamble on Waterworld in 1995 marked one of the most notorious turning points in his career. Set in a future where Earth is engulfed by water, the film aimed to break new ground. The ambitious concept, combined with its groundbreaking production design, created enormous expectations. But those high hopes came with an even higher price tag, quickly making Waterworld one of the most expensive films ever produced at the time. As the star and heavily involved in its direction and production, Costner was deeply invested in the project's success, both professionally and personally. The film's journey, however, proved to be anything but smooth. From the very start, Waterworld faced relentless challenges. Production nearly stalled when a hurricane destroyed much of the set, forcing costly rebuilds and additional delays. The constant script changes demanded by studio executives only compounded the issues, creating a production nightmare and turning Waterworld into an unpredictable, ever-escalating endeavor. With millions of his own money invested, Costner found himself in the thick of every setback. When the movie finally premiered, he had more than just his reputation on the line. He had a personal stake in the outcome. Unfortunately for Costner, Waterworld received a lukewarm reception. Despite its ambitious premise and impressive production values, audiences and critics found the story and pacing lacking. Rather than becoming the blockbuster hit many had anticipated, the film struggled at the box office, falling far short of its mammoth budget. Criticism was swift, and much of the blame landed squarely on Costner. The press seized on the film's failure, turning Costner into the face of Waterworld's shortcomings and scrutinizing every aspect of his involvement in the project. For Costner, the fallout was brutal. Known up until that point as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, he had built a reputation with a string of successful films. But Waterworld altered public perception, as both the media and the entertainment industry turned the film's downfall into a spectacle. His reputation took a significant hit, and the industry began to question his ability to lead another big-budget film. Despite his efforts to defend Waterworld and salvage its legacy, the weight of its failure lingered, casting a shadow over his career and raising doubts about his choices. In time, Waterworld did find a second life in home video sales, eventually gaining a dedicated cult following. Yet in the short term, its flop signaled what many saw as the decline of Costner's A-list status. The project he had so passionately championed ended up costing him dearly, not only financially but also in terms of his Hollywood standing. Moving forward, every new project he took on was viewed through the lens of Waterworld's failure, a constant reminder of how quickly fortunes can shift in Hollywood. On the other hand, this time Costner's personal life is in turmoil too. The messy divorce. Kevin Costner's divorce from Christine Baumgartner has unfolded as a real-life saga, full of legal maneuvering and drama rivaling Yellowstone. The couple married in 2004 at Costner's ranch in Aspen, Colorado, after signing a prenuptial agreement. With Costner already a Hollywood heavyweight and multimillionaire, the agreement aimed to protect his fortune in case the marriage didn't last. However, now that Baumgartner filed for divorce in May 2023, irreconcilable differences have turned into a legal struggle, with disagreements at every turn. When Baumgartner first filed, both she and Costner requested joint custody of their 3 children: Caden, 16, Hayes, 14, and Grace, 13. Costner, taken aback by the divorce, issued a statement through his representative, saying he was saddened by the situation, especially because he felt it was out of his control. But if he hoped for an amicable split, those hopes quickly faded. From the beginning, Baumgartner's next move signaled that the divorce wouldn't proceed quietly. The prenup had one stipulation that seemed straightforward. In the event of a divorce, Baumgartner would vacate their shared California property, a sprawling estate on the coast in Carpinteria. But as the weeks passed, Baumgartner remained on the property, sparking an initial clash that would lead to further disputes. Costner's lawyers filed a court request on June 9th, insisting Baumgartner adhere to the prenup's terms and vacate the home. This move marked the first of many legal back-and-forths between the two, revealing how fraught the division of assets and living arrangements would become. The situation grew even more complex due to Costner's children from previous relationships and his involvement with his first wife, Cindy Silva, with whom he shares 3 grown children, as well as his son Liam, 26, from another past relationship. These family ties added layers to the divorce proceedings, as both Costner and Baumgartner sought custody arrangements for their 3 children, but also navigated the responsibilities and relationships built over Costner's long life and career. According to court filings, Christine Baumgartner remained at Kevin Costner's 1.4-acre Carpinteria property past the 30 days stipulated in their prenuptial agreement, which required her to vacate the premises after filing for divorce. Costner originally purchased the property in 1988, well before he and Baumgartner became a couple. Notably, this property is separate from the nearby 10-acre waterfront land Costner recently mortgaged to fund Horizon, an American saga, his ambitious 4-part film project centered on the American West. Financing this project, Costner admitted, stirred quite a reaction from his accountant, but he expressed confidence in the story and his commitment to bringing it to life. Costner's filing also outlined the financial support he provided to Baumgartner under the prenup. Upon their marriage, he gave her $100,000, with another $100,000 on their first anniversary. The agreement guaranteed Baumgartner an additional $1 million after the divorce filing, plus $200,000 for a down payment on a new home. Costner agreed to cover property taxes and homeowners insurance for a year, along with $30,000 per month in child support. In an attempt to facilitate her transition, he also offered to help with moving expenses and committed an extra $38,000 monthly beyond the stipulated child support payments. Kevin has acted in good faith, the filing stated, emphasizing his efforts to make the process as smooth as possible. In his declaration, Costner explained the rationale behind the prenup stipulations, noting that his first marriage had left him without a stable home base. This experience, he said, was pivotal in shaping his approach to a second marriage. "I never wanted this to happen again," he explained, adding that his demanding work schedule, which often requires extensive travel, made it crucial for him to have a place he could reliably return to when not on set. Costner first met Christine Baumgartner at a golf course in the early 90s. But their romantic relationship didn't begin until 1998 when they bumped into each other at a restaurant. He later recounted how they exchanged numbers that evening, though he didn't call her for 2 weeks, a delay he later realized might not have gone over well. Before their wedding on September 25, 2004, Costner made it clear that he wanted his separate property, including his personal residences, to remain his no matter the future of their marriage. Baumgartner, understanding the importance of this to him, agreed to these terms. However, when Costner later requested that Baumgartner vacate their home according to the prenup after she filed for divorce, her attorney, John Rydell, argued that the actor's request would effectively kick Christine and their 3 children out of the house they have known all their lives. The divorce proceedings escalated further when, only a week later, Baumgartner filed a request for $248,000 per month in child support. Her lawyers argued that their children, Caden, Hayes, and Grace, had grown accustomed to a remarkably high standard of living, a lifestyle supported by Costner's reported $1.5 million monthly income. While Baumgartner acknowledged in her filing that their lifestyle was indeed extraordinary, she expressed gratitude for it and emphasized the importance of maintaining a stable and comfortable home for their children, while also teaching them family values and gratitude. Baumgartner had been a stay-at-home mother since Caden's birth in 2007, and she described their family's lifestyle as deeply intertwined with Costner's substantial income. As the proceedings continue, her request underscores her desire to preserve the environment their children have always known, while the legal battle illustrates the complex dynamic between the luxurious life they shared and Costner's commitment to protecting his separate assets. This unfolding drama reveals the struggle to balance personal values with practical realities in the midst of an intensely publicized divorce. Baumgartner's primary focus, she explained, is ensuring her children can continue thriving in a home environment that resembles the lifestyle they experience with their father. In her June 16th filing, her attorneys acknowledged that the requested $248,000 in monthly child support may seem steep, but argued it aligns with California law. This, they contended, is a situation that calls for an upward adjustment, allowing the children to enjoy a standard of living closer to that of their fathers. Baumgartner also emphasized that she hasn't touched any of the money Costner provided her per the prenuptial agreement, stating that Costner's intention might be to pressure her into spending this money so he could later claim she had waived her right to contest the prenup. Apart from that fund, Baumgartner said she has only $50,000 in her bank account and no other assets or income. In response to the child support request, Costner's lawyers argued on June 28th that the amount Baumgartner requested was highly inflated and unsubstantiated. They asserted that providing the children with a comfortable life didn't require extravagant expenses. Their filing pointed out that Baumgartner reportedly allocated 60% of the expenses, including private training and unaccounted-for credit card purchases, to their children without clarification. They further claimed that only Baumgartner uses the private trainers and that her plastic surgery expenses should not be included in the children's costs. Costner's legal team went on to say that Baumgartner had spent significant amounts on herself, including clothing, jewelry, and spa treatments, rather than on their children. Regarding his own finances, Costner's lawyers contended that his monthly available cash flow for support was much lower than Baumgartner's accountant's figure of $1.5 million, putting it instead at $123,620. They argued that his earnings from Yellowstone were an exception rather than a standard. For 30 months leading up to June 2023, his average cash flow was approximately $1.31 million with Yellowstone earnings, but that figure dropped to $468,136 without the show. Costner himself testified that he was offered $24 million to continue Yellowstone through Season 7, but due to scheduling conflicts with his Horizon project, the show would end after Season 5. Costner's proposal of $51,940 in monthly child support, plus coverage of all the children's health insurance, private school tuition, extracurricular activities, and other expenses, was rejected by Baumgartner's team, who countered with $217,300. A judge ultimately granted a temporary award of $129,755 per month in child support on July 12th. Baumgartner claimed in her filing that Costner told their 3 children about the divorce over a brief Zoom call from a hotel room in Las Vegas. She expressed confusion over why he chose such a brief call, especially since he planned to return home within 5 days. She also hinted there was more behind the split, stating she had intentionally refrained from disclosing the reasons for their divorce to protect their family's privacy. She further added that she had never pressured him to leave Yellowstone and criticized his public comments about her, suggesting they were intended to pressure her to move out without securing a temporary child support order. In response, Costner accused Baumgartner of attempting to tarnish his reputation by creating sound bites that the media would eagerly circulate, impacting their children. According to Costner's account, Baumgartner expressed her desire for a divorce a month before officially filing, though he hadn't wanted it. He claimed they initially agreed to inform the kids together, but that Baumgartner refused to commit to telling them she would be moving out. Frustrated by the uncertainty, he instructed his lawyer to proceed with the divorce filing on May 2nd. 2 days before, on April 30th, Costner spoke to their children via FaceTime from St. George, Utah, aiming to avoid potential conflict between him and Baumgartner in front of their kids. By July, a judge ordered Baumgartner to vacate their Carpinteria home by July 31st, denying her request for an extension to August 31st. Following the ruling, Baumgartner leased a new residence at $40,000 a month. Costner's legal team argued that, having already paid $105,000, he should not be obligated to cover additional legal fees, as her claim of financial need seemed not credible. In a deposition, Baumgartner admitted her brother had provided $80,000 for her security deposit and rent, while a current boyfriend gave her an additional $20,000. The child support battle escalated, with Costner's team describing Baumgartner's demands as part of a relentless attack on Kevin's character. In court, she requested $168,315 in monthly child support, which Costner's lawyers deemed mind-boggling, suggesting her claims obscured her own financial situation. Baumgartner clarified that the family friend who had given her $20,000 was not a boyfriend, explaining she had returned half of the amount and given $10,000 to her mother. On September 1st, Judge Thomas Anderle reduced Costner's child support obligation to $63,209, stating anything beyond this would essentially act as spousal support. Reflecting on the outcome, Costner acknowledged the challenges of the situation, remarking on the emotional toll of a long relationship unraveling. He expressed optimism, calling Baumgartner an incredible mom, and emphasizing their commitment to navigating the situation together for their children's well-being. The former couple is scheduled to return to court in November, where Baumgartner's challenge to their prenuptial agreement will take center stage. All right, so that's it for this video. And if you want to watch more amazing content like this, check out some of our other videos. Bye!